A naked, heavily tattooed woman wakes up in a duffel bag in Times Square. She has no memories. Some kind of government conspiracies, etc. That's comedy!
Hello and welcome to Man of Biscuit, your weekly podcast. It's your podcast, that's what it is. It's our podcast, it's your whatever. I am RJ Velosky. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Jacob Gamble, TJ Rathburn. Jacob Gamble, and TJ Rathburn specifically. How are you guys doing this week?
I'm doing well. However, we talked about we were talking pre-show, and apparently nothing I do matters. So yeah, it's
we'll pretend while we're on the air.
Oh, will we? Okay,
yes. This is show business, baby.
But I'm doing well. Got caught up on some of the television shows. Gotham Rise of the Villains actually looks okay. First episode was good. Still only an episode behind on The Walking Dead now. Or not Walking Dead, but Fear the Walking Dead. So I haven't seen this week's. No spoilers, please.
And we are now in week...
I heard Carl's in it.
Dude, yeah, did you hear that too? Apparently he's in
like
the background.
Maybe as an extra, like there's somebody that looks a lot like, was Chandler Riggs? Is that his
Yep, it's Chandler Riggs. Apparently it hasn't been confirmed, and on the other hand, it hasn't been denied either. So, but supposedly he is one of the background characters in one of the scenes, just as an extra, chilling out. Nobody said really one way or another last I had heard, but it's kind of cool the idea is kind of cool.
And I believe also now we are in week, would be 25, week 26 of the Jay needs to watch Daredevil.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes, we got
God, Jay.
I got 6 weeks before Jessica Jones, and then it all just unravels from there.
But, you know, it's good that you're spending time on Gotham.
Yeah, I know. Like,
I'm so sorry.
Spending your time on the
importance. Found the Batcave last week, okay?
What, the Batcave? Wait. Do you think this kid in that show might someday become Batman?
I think so.
That's messed up. I never even thought about that. That would be a crazy twist.
He's got the right name for it, and
all that money.
All that money, yeah. And now, and it's kind of cool to have a new take on the whole how it's done thing, just because the Batman's origin story has been done.
Apparently not enough times that they don't need to make an entire series about it.
Well, no, and this is the focus is James Gordon and the rise of the villains as opposed to actually Batman himself. However, Batman
all
right, yes.
Yeah, I know you guys don't want to talk about it, but I love.
No, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like none of these, like there's like, oh, these people are all established as the villains that they are, but most of them Batman saw established. Like he was already the Bat by that point.
Right.
Like some of them were obviously probably like doing some stuff like, hey, I didn't obviously become a like crazy like leader of the mafia, overnight. But like, Scarecrow and Joker and stuff like there's a lot of these characters that didn't exist until the Bat did.
Right. Isn't that part of the whole Nolan trilogy? Is that at the end of Batman Begins? Yeah, that Batman himself leads to the rise of the villain. So, I don't know. You enjoy the show, fine. Whatever. You have terrible taste. But it's just I can't.
By my two friends here, there is no accounting for taste.
It's true. It's true. It takes.
At least we're pretty.
It takes a special person to hang out with two arrogant assholes. So
it does. It takes somebody that is completely okay with being demeaned on a regular basis.
Oh, Jay.
Are you really okay with it though, or do you just like hold in your tears until after we're done filming?
Yes, I go with it. I'm not actually going to work immediately following the show. I go have a good cry, and then I go to work. At which point in time, I go into the bathroom and have another good cry. Oh, my life sucks.
Aw.
Anyway,
poor Jay.
moving on.
We do love you, though.
And I love you guys.
All right. So, TJ, what you been up to this week? Anything fun? Anything particular?
Well, I mean, I spent most of my I didn't do a whole lot of electronically oriented things because I spent the last 4 days out on a camping trip. But I did get the opportunity to play through a bunch of board games and card games and stuff that we took along. So I got to do some further exploration of that end of the geek hobby spectrum.
What games did you play?
We played Love Letter, which is a fantastic game. We also played Dominion, which is a deck building game where you're all little rival fiefdoms in a medieval sort of setting. We played San Juan, which is based off of having plantations and stuff. 150-ish, 200 years ago on the island of San Juan. And then we also played... what else did we play? We played a game of Dread, which I believe has been brought up on the show before.
Sure,
the horror role-playing game using a Jenga tower instead of dice. So yeah, lots of playing games and having a good time.
Unplugged games, the best type, I think. Not that I don't like video games, but man, board games, card games, tabletop role-playing games, just something about them, something about being there with friends. I wouldn't know. I don't have any friends. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I do have friends. They live in Canada. You probably don't know them.
We actually do, but we live in a place where we actually probably all either have had or currently have Canadian friends.
Look, if Ioannis Cespedes was at my house, he could hit Canada with a baseball from where I'm sitting right now. So, but he's not at my house because Dombrowski traded him. Anyway, that is not what this show is about.
That's a whole nother show.
Yes. For me this week, I'm as TJ and Jay know, and maybe some other people watching this, I've been looking to move here in about the next month or so. So I spent a lot of time looking at different neighborhoods, looking at cost of living, that sort of thing, all the various factors that come into play when you're trying to make a decision about moving. And there was one neighborhood I was looking at that looked really good, really promising, but it turned out it might be a little bit too much of a rough neighborhood for me in the end, because when I was reading the some of the news stories from the neighborhood over the last few months, I found this story. Somebody found a couple of peanuts, and one of them was assaulted.
Oh, wow.
So, this week on Man of Biscuit, we're going to talk about comedy.
Oh, goodness. There's a story behind that.
Yeah, that joke that Jay heard that for the first time, he about pissed his pants.
And it wasn't intentional. It was just the fact that it was deadpan. And
I know, it's such a good joke, though.
He just said it so straight-faced, and I'm like... It tweaked my brain, and I'm like...
That's where we want to start with this, because I'm a big fan of puns. TJ, I don't know if you're a fan of puns ironically or if you're a legitimate fan of puns.
Both, actually, in a weird way. But, I mean, I do. Who doesn't love to make all their friends hate them?
Exactly. So, this is the thing about puns, right? I being a big lover of the puns. By the way, do you know the difference between a pun and a fart? A pun is a shift of wit. Anyway, I do research puns, including categorization of them, as I just explained there. But one of the reasons it's speculated that people hate puns is because they activate two parts of the brain simultaneously. One part that is your normal, the part that normally processes jokes, whether or not things are funny, and the other part that processes language and what words mean. And apparently when you tell somebody a pun, that part that processes language just gets really pissed off. And that is why it's postulated that some people legitimately hate puns. For me, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just I enjoy that part of my brain being pissed off. And
like, there's nothing better than just those little like tweaks of language.
Exactly.
Like, wordplay is so funny. Just being able to set up a joke like that, which, by the way, I knew you were going to be doing something, because anytime you talk for like more than 4 sentences without either making a really direct point or already having made your joke, I'm like, he is setting us up for a pun.
I am predictable in that regard, yes.
But I love that sort of thing. That's my favorite. Like, puns themselves are just like one facet of that type of comedy for me, where it's just like little subtle meanings and words and things. The kind of thing where if it's done properly, you can tell it to like 10 people in a group, and there's going to be one person who like stops and goes, ah. And then everybody else looks around like, what? And then like they go, oh. Like, I love that.
Right, and well, the on our no particular order this week, we were listing top 5 funniest films, and the very first list was TJ's. The very first entry on that list was Airplane, and
yeah,
if that is not an entire movie based around the joke form of the pun, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and they pull it off reasonably. Not reasonably well, amazingly well, because people that would normally like want to punch you in the nuts because you told them a pun still love that flick. That flick. So I don't know. I find myself frequently at the end of a lot of rage, but I can take the punishment.
I hate you.
Yes.
I
Bring it on.
I love puns.
And yet, yes.
All right. So, but we did, this is all, an excuse for me to tell more puns, because it's all about me. And B, it's also a segue into what we wanted to talk about, primarily what makes things funny. And we've talked about the pun. TJ made the comment in no particular order that puns are the highest form of comedy, which I wholeheartedly and unironically agree with. And I did say we talk about that in no particular order, and little did they know that I was just going to hijack the entire first part of the show for it. But we did want to talk about what makes movies funny in general. So, Jay, Super Troopers was your number 1.
I love Super Troopers.
What made Super Troopers funny to you?
A liter of cola.
You boys like Mexico.
So you got quotability, right? But
quotability for starters, and there's just those memorable moments, and there's something to be said about there's something to be said about enjoying a movie as a group of people. Like, you talk about the puns, like telling 10 people the same pun, and yet, like, you know, we get 10 of us together and watch Super Troopers, which we did way back in the day, and
similar films,
it's one of those things that just carries on through and through. The moments don't necessarily have to be as funny, but we as people make them hilarious.
Right.
Exactly.
And
the social aspect of things.
Very, very much so. Like, I'll watch comedies at home and just be like, oh.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Amazing. But then if somebody else were here, I would be losing my mind with laughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't laugh at things when I'm alone, unless it's like really outrageously funny.
Or I'm really drunk.
Well, fair. But you get somebody else around, and like, it feeds. Like,
yes.
You know, you giggle and then they giggle, and you just like build off of each other. That's why some of my very best friends are built off of having similar senses of humor, because those are the ones that are going to tip you off of that cliff of hilarity.
And it again, like, we talked about the assaulted joke, and just the fact that when Scott told that joke way back when we were gaming, it was so deadpan that, you know, I started to giggle a little bit, and TJ giggled a little bit, that fed me to giggle a little bit more, and until we just, both ends just completely lost it, while everybody's looking at us going, What?
Because you were rolling on the floor like a madman, actually.
Because he kept feeding me over. Like, I'd calm down.
And then we'd both be, like, fighting it back.
Yeah, and then he'd break, and I'd break, and it'd be a wrap. And, you know, I mean, you get that, like, it's one of those gag reels from, like, the tail end of a movie where, you know, there's somebody says something, and then the next take it carries over, and...
Yeah, and, you know, to this point as well, I would say that when I am watching comedies alone, when I do laugh, it's usually because I'm thinking, oh man, I got to tell TJ about this, or oh man, I got to tell Jay about this part because he would love that because of XYZ. And so even when you're watching it alone, that social aspect is still with you, and really what makes funny movies funny. So I think that's probably the biggest key there, right? If a movie is really going to be funny, it's got to be a movie that a bunch of people can watch and appreciate at the same time.
Right. And, I mean, there's been plenty of studies and stuff where people try to figure out scientifically, like, why we laugh and what makes us laugh, because it's still something that we don't really understand. Like, the biggest...
How does it work?
Like, the biggest theories... Magnets. The biggest theories tend to be that humor comes from when you expect one thing and get another. And that it is an involuntary effect that allows people around us to know that everything is okay. That's why we tend to get, like, even if we get scared or something and it's not anything terribly scary, you will frequently laugh immediately afterwards, even though it's not really funny. It's all about just reassuring the people around you that everything's all right. And I think that we're hardwired to, when we hear it, laugh back.
Sure, absolutely. I think that rings true. And we're no scientists. We're fairly well-read, educated guys, TJ and I. And Jay too.
I just watched Gotham. Cry.
But you know,
it
is
wiped out like whatever formal education you ever had. It just overwrites it.
This kid might be the Joker. Trigonometry gone.
But I need trig for my real everyday life.
Oh, man, the algebraic equations were quadratics were that was enjoyment.
People use algebra more often than they think.
If you're watching this, kids, your teachers are lying. You're never gonna need that math.
No.
You're gonna need like addition. Actually, you're gonna need addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and that's functionally it. And everything else, you're just gonna have your phone. They told me for years that I would not have a calculator on me at all times when I was a grown-up. And who's laughing now, Mr. Blakely?
I remember this. Well, do you ever carry a calculator all the time? Well,
straight up, all day.
Now I do, every day.
Yes.
In fact, I spend more time on my calculator than I do anything else.
And apparently now the kids can use calculators to hide their, like, sexting photos or something.
Yes.
I read about that. That's a thing. That's a Man of Biscuit public service announcement.
Yeah, go through your kid's calculator. There's probably boobs in it. Yeah. Or at least 8,008.
Yeah. 8,008, right? Yeah. Anyway. So, moving on from that, I don't know how we can.
I don't know either.
Yeah, that was the pinnacle of... Yeah, that was the pinnacle of what a calculator could do when we were...
Let's talk a little bit more
6.
maybe about some of the movies that we had in our list today, right? So one of the things that TJ said that was really interesting to me, because it's never occurred to me this way before, and obviously I know from what Jay said it never occurred to him either, but he was of the opinion that people were either a Mel Brooks fan or a Monty Python fan, and I don't know. Where does that come from, TJ?
That comes from like a weird thing in my head for a long time where it's not just when it comes to Python and Brooks, but it seems like there's always, for a lot of things, there's a couple of like front runners and you pick one. Like back in the day, whether you listen to the Beatles or the Stones, you know, there's
so like what?
Star Wars versus Star Trek.
So like Python is Coke and
Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Okay.
And so it was just one of those things that, like, obviously you can be fans of both, but you're more a fan of one or the other. And I've known a bunch of people over the years that just, like, straight up vehemently disagree with this theory, and they say that they're equally fans of both. And I don't know.
I don't necessarily think equally. I mean, ultimately, you're
going to have a preference to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, am I gonna watch and now for something completely different, or am I gonna watch Spaceballs? Yeah, both of those were on my list, and ultimately, if I have the attention span, if I'm sitting down to watch something, then and now for something completely different is it. But if I want something in the background because I'm playing WoW or I'm doing something else, Spaceballs is it.
Spaceballs is it all the way around for me. Like, I'd probably go the other way. And now for something completely different would just be something that's just on. But Spaceballs I want to pay attention to because I love that. That's the humor that I get. Like, I used to watch that movie with my friends when we were all in high school and just quote the whole thing. That and, like, History of the World Part 1. Any Brooks film, really.
Well, I think when you break things down into this sort of dichotomy that you were talking about earlier, the Coke versus Pepsi, the Star Trek versus Star Wars, it has to be something that's first really important to you, right? Because it gets into the whole political ideology, that sort of thing. I mean, religion tends to be very binary in a lot of cases, and if something's that important to you, then you are going to perhaps view it in that sort of binary sense where it's one or the other. I don't know that if people maybe don't have as much passion for the Monty Python or the Mel Brooks films as we do, that they would necessarily approach that. I can see where it's coming from because of what I just said, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that either. I wouldn't say I vehemently disagree, but I don't necessarily subscribe that it's like a one or the other. I could see maybe a Coke or Pepsi thing, but you know what?
Right, but like just
I've
like
drank
with
Coke
Coke or
and
Pepsi,
I've drank Pepsi.
Yeah, you'll drink either. Like if you go
Some people
someplace
will,
and you
unless it's very important to them.
Right, but for the most part, most people will show up and they'll be like, "Hey, can I get a Coke?" And they're like, "Oh, we have Pepsi. Is that okay?" Most people are just going to go, "All right," because it's still a cola, you know.
Yeah,
it's not the cola.
You know the interesting thing though. The interesting thing though. I found this. This is anecdotal, but it was very reliable when I worked at the movie theater, and we had Pepsi products that people would come in and ask for a cherry Coke, and when we told them that we didn't have a cherry Coke, do you know what they picked instead?
Mountain Dew.
Dr. Pepper. Like 90%
of the time. It does have a cherry base.
Yeah. And so it's not necessarily the dichotomy of brands there. It's just what you have the taste for. So, and like I said, if it's very important that to you, if you have finicky tastes, which some people do, I don't. Then you're going
do you
to
drink
stand.
Pepsi?
I do not drink Pepsi. Too sweet, and there's no Coke has got that bite to it, and that's kind of what I like out of it. I am not a soda drinker to begin with, unless it's an energy.
There's whiskey in it.
Or vodka, or yes.
Yeah.
And nowadays I don't really drink at all, so soda's out the window. But
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Yeah. But anyway. So soda is essentially out the window. However, if I'm going to have one, it is Coke, or I'm just going to go without.
Really? No
Pepsi
Dr. Pepper?
I was going to say...
Dr. Pepper Dr. Pepper once in a great while. If I have to choose something, and ultimately, he's right. I mean, I will go to Dr. Pepper or possibly Mountain Dew. But I won't touch Pepsi.
Dr. Pepper crosses like all the lines.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what brand of sodas you have, you also have Dr. Pepper.
Right. Dr.
So,
Pepper, the Switzerland of soft drinks.
Yeah, exactly. And so it actually got to a point there, because I do enjoy Dr. Pepper, but if I went to a fast food restaurant and I didn't want to remember what they had, which, 90% of the time is Coke, but I'm just like Dr. Pepper. Just, that is the soda that I would tack on to my order because everybody had it.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
It is.
It's delicious.
It is. Send us money, Dr. Pepper. And
yes,
before I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up there, because when we start talking about comedy and end up in this discussion of sodas,
it's downgraded and devolved to the point of.
Well, I just gonna say it's an indication that it's time to move on. It's time for you to move on to your lives. We'll have more Mana Biscuit for you next week. But before we go, before we go, settle down, Jay.
Hey,
settle down.
Look, I'm excited.
I'm excited. Take a breath. We have comments.
Hey, look, I'm gonna start rattling off top 100 songs from 2004 just for you, RJ. But
all right, yeah, no, we already did that.
Yes.
Okay, comment time.
Comment time. First comment was from Dave Brown, who did what we've been asking so many people to do. He left his own top 5 list, complete with descriptions of why he picked what he did. So let's run down his list, and we'll highlight a couple of descriptions I had in mind.
This was like a thesis. It was awesome.
Yes.
All right. So he started off with Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yep. I'm sorry. Let me back up. Last week, for those of you playing the home game, was top 5 TV shows of all time. So he started off with Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yes. Followed up with Doctor Who, which, okay, fine.
It was on my list. Yep.
Yeah. Adventure Time. I appreciated that he threw Adventure Time on his list. He's actually the guy that got me to watch Adventure Time.
Oh, nice.
And I adore that show, too. So.
Yes, it's an amazing show.
Eureka.
Which
yeah,
awesome
it was.
show.
Yep.
I actually never got into it, but I do know that there are a lot of people that really enjoyed it. I watched about 3 or 4 episodes and just couldn't get into it. Maybe I'll give it another shot.
Now,
I don't know.
the thing of it for me, because I watched it with a buddy of mine who was like, oh, you really need to see this. So, he put it on, and we watched it. And I also spent the first handful of episodes just being like, all right. But it's just so cute. It's just so whimsical and, pleasant. And, even the threats aren't terribly threatening, and all the characters are just so nice. And I'm like, I want to live in this little town, where they make science stuff. So by the end, I was really upset when it was ending, because I'm like, oh man, they're gonna get rid of this and keep all these other terrible shows because this one cost them extra money to film. It was really disappointing.
Like Defiance.
Yeah, but. Just a really good show.
No reaction from Jay there. There we go.
No, that sunk in because I was reading the Sci-Fi Overloads WWE over original programming.
Right.
And I was like, I get behind that, but at the same time, I don't agree with it because they still furthered things like Lost Girl, which went for 7 or 8 seasons. Very True Blood-esque kind of vein, but they're stuck with some of them. I don't know what it was about Eureka that they just didn't like. But
it was, pardon me, at the time, I want to say it was their most expensive show to produce.
Well.
And so they cut the money, and they, if I remember right, because this was a little while ago, they cut the money. And so they did a shorter season rather than having a lower quality on the regular seasons. A regular length with lower quality was just shorter length, same quality. And then they wanted to cut it again. And the creators were like, we cannot do this show for the money that you're offering.
Yeah.
And they opted to take the opportunity to wrap it up and just have it be over. So Sci-Fi didn't exactly cancel it, but wanted to cut their budget to a third of what it originally was, or something like that, and you just couldn't do it. Yeah.
All right. Was that his 5?
No, Pushing Daisies is
right.
Yes.
Oh, I love that show. Again, super cute.
This is one I'm not familiar with.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. It was on, I want to say ABC. And it had Lee Pace, the guy who played Ronan the Accuser in Guardians of the Galaxy, playing the main character. And basically, it's about this guy who discovers when he's young that if he touches something that has died, it will come back to life. But there's two kind of caveats to it. One is if he ever touches that thing again, it dies, and it's gone forever. And the other one is if he lets that thing live for more than an hour, something else has to die in its place. So he grows up and he becomes a pie maker because he gets the dead ingredients, berries and fruits and stuff. And when he touches them to put them in the pie, they become alive again, and then they're slowly dying, but they're absolutely the freshest ingredients you could ever conceivably have for your pies. And then he works on the side with a private detective who takes him into morgues, and he'll touch the dead guy. The dead guy will be like, "It was this dude," and then he'll touch him again and dead. And then partway through I want to say it's the first episode, the girl that he grew up next to, that he had fallen in love with when he was a kid and then had moved away, is attacked and killed, and his buddy takes him to her to find out who killed her, and he's like, oh god, I can't let her die again. So he touches her and keeps her alive, and then they fall in love, but they can never touch because she'll die again. And it's just a really cute, almost fairy tale sort of vibe to it. It's just super sweet. I think they did 2 seasons. I don't know if it was 1 long season or 2 shorts. And then it got canceled, and it was just adorable. From what I understand, it got canceled because of low ratings, but it was ABC attempting to go toe-to-toe with American Idol, and they were still pulling in 5 million viewers against American Idol in 06 or 07. So that it should have been considered a success, but they let it go.
They didn't go. The other thing I want to mention about Dave's list is at the top, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. When I put TNG on my list, I did say, with the caveat, there could be cases made for other of the Star Trek series, and foremost in that for me was Deep Space Nine, and the reason is exactly what Dave said. It was all about Cisco. It was all about not being this more paragon type leader, but being a little bit more grounded in reality and dealing with a more kind of gritty situation. And yes, I agree wholeheartedly with his assessment of Deep Space Nine, but for me, I got the Riker beard, man. I'm locked in for life.
So this show doesn't exist anywhere. I can't find it on Hulu or Netflix.
I'm sure you can probably find it on DVD somewhere.
Straight up, you sold me on it. I'm like, ooh, I'm excited, and nothing.
I can get you a perfectly valid and legal copy.
Sweet. Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Well, before we go too far down that road, I think we'll wrap it up.
There's this inlet of water where occasionally brigands and buccaneers hang out.
Oh, okay. So to bookend the show, I'm going to ask you guys, since we're talking about piracy.
Wait. Steve Ashby also left his top 5 on Facebook.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yes, he did. Well, his top 5 was Archer. Yes, straight up. Good job. Penn and Teller Bullshit.
Yes.
Again, love that show. Hell on Wheels, which I haven't seen, but he says it's good.
Not a bad show.
Lie to Me. I have no idea.
I think that's a network drama, I think.
Maybe.
It is. I have not seen it.
And The Blacklist, which I hear is great, but I just haven't.
Yeah, same here.
Again, heard it's great.
No, that one's on Netflix, so one of these days.
Which reminds me, there was what the heck was that show with the tattooed chick that just came out? Flash? I don't know. Really, really good. I'll think of it before the week's out, and post it in the comments.
All right, thanks for that, Jay.
Something about it next week. But the show is that episode 1 was really, really good, and that's what I got caught up. That's what I got caught up watching instead of Daredevil again.
All right. Yes. And Gotham. But if any of you know what the show is about, or what that show is, go ahead and let us know in the comments, because that's what we're gonna have to rely on. Because anyway, all right. Before we close here, I just want to ask you guys, how much does it cost for a pirate to get his ears pierced?
A buccaneer.
A buccaneer. Except you have to say it like a pirate, TJ.
Well, this isn't a pun, but this is a joke that all of my friends want to stab me for. Okay. Want to be a pirate's favorite letter?
Aye, his first love be the sea, matey.
See, my favorite thing is when everybody goes like,
"Arr!"
and you go, you'd think that, but in fact it be the sea.
All right, for TJ Rathburn, for Jacob Gamble, I am RJ Volosky. Thanks so much for watching. You know what to do. We will see you next week.
I'm going to go cry now.
Good way to end a comedy.
Yeah. What's the name of the show?
It's called A Blind Spot.
A Blind Spot.